Good morning, everyone. Today we will be covering the following topics: revalidation extensions, retroactive enrollment periods, claims reprocessing, revalidation overview, scheduling a walkthrough for PEMS or technical assistance, and we will end today's webinar with a question and answer session. All right, let's jump in and go over revalidation extensions that will be taking place. Texas Medicaid and Healthcare Partnership posted an article on December 16th indicating that the providers who are due to revalidate between December 13th, 2024 through May 31st, 2025 will receive a revalidation extension for 180 days. TMHP has already begun the process of giving NPIs the 180-day extension to complete their revalidation. Per the process that has been established for this, PEMS will check to see if the NPI is due to revalidate the following business day. If the revalidation is not complete, that NPI will be given an additional 180 days added to their revalidation date. Please be aware that a complete revalidation means that the NPI has been successfully revalidated with a status of closed enrolled on the request. Requests that are being reviewed by the Provider Enrollment Department or that are in draft are not considered closed enrolled. For providers who are looking to confirm that their revalidation has been extended, please utilize the Provider Information tab for this. To locate the Provider Information tab, navigate to PEMS, locate the NPI in question within the Provider Management section of the PEMS dashboard, and click the ellipses or three dots to open that record. Please note that the revalidation date is displayed on the dashboard. However, best practices are to use the Provider Information tab to verify the extension has taken place. Note, in the Provider Management page, it will have a status of approved. Please do not use this status to confirm if an NPI is actively enrolled or not. Once you have opened the NPI record, you will see 12 tabs on the left. Click the Provider Information tab. Once you are within the Provider Information tab, scroll down slightly to the section titled Enrollment Information. This area will display the revalidation date. Here we see a provider who has a revalidation due date of January 4th, 2025. Let's see what this looks like after the extension has taken place. If this NPI has not completed their revalidation by January 3rd, 2025, which is the day before the NPI is due to revalidate, then PEMS will automatically calculate and add an additional 180 days to the revalidation due date. Please be sure to initiate a revalidation request as soon as possible, even if you qualify for an extension. In our example, we see the revalidation date has been extended from January 4th, 2025 to June 30th of 2025. This NPI now has an additional 180 days or 6 months to complete the revalidation request to stay within the compliance of Texas Medicaid policies. If you are looking to confirm the revalidation extension has taken place for your NPI, please be sure to follow these steps and verify this information from the Provider Information tab within PEMS. Now, let's discuss the retroactive enrollment period or gap closures for providers who have not successfully revalidated. TMHP and the Health and Human Services Commission, or HHSC, will modify enrollment periods based on the following requirements. The provider has an enrollment gap for failing to revalidate between November 1st, 2023 and December 12th, 2024, and the NPI has been successfully re-enrolled in Texas Medicaid. TMHP has backdated the enrollment gap by 365 days starting on January 17th for providers who have already met both of these criteria. However, for providers who are still in the process of revalidating or re-enrolling, the gap will also be backdated 365 days once that enrollment request is approved. This will be done systematically after PEMS has confirmed that the NPI is actively enrolled. Here are the key updates for Phase 1, which began on January 17, 2025. For eligible providers, the NPI enrollment begin date on the new enrollment segment in PEMS will be backdated by up to 365 days to minimize or eliminate gaps caused by status code 66, provider is not enrolled, failed to revalidate. Providers will receive an email with their updated NPI enrollment begin date. For requests in draft or in-flight requests, approved revalidation or re-enrollment submitted after January 17, 2025 will also have their NPI enrollment backdated up to 365 days. Status code 66 will be backdated up to 365 days after the request is closed enrolled. Here are the key updates for Phase 2. The enrollment period end date will shift back the same number of days as the begin date was shifted in Phase 1. The updated end date will set a new revalidation due date aligning with state and federal requirements. Providers will receive an email with their new NPI enrollment period with their new revalidation due date. Providers should continue submitting claims during the gap period and re-enrollment phase. TMHP will process claims as usual for services delivered during the gap. Let's look at an example for a gap closure. Here we see the provider was due to revalidate on June 1st, 2024. However, the provider did not revalidate by this date. Their NPI record would be inactive for this reason until the provider re-enrolls. For example, the provider completed their re-enrollment on 8/15 of 2024. Let's look at what the gap in their enrollment would look like within PEMS. Staying within the Provider Information tab, we will see enrollment periods displayed on the bottom. Continuing with our example, we see the provider has a gap from June 2nd, 2024, the day after their revalidation date, until August 14th, 2024, the day before they were re-enrolled. This provider's gap in their enrollment would be from June 2nd, 2024 through August 14th of 2024, where any claims billed during this period would be denied for EOB 01215, provider is not enrolled, failed to revalidate. The begin date of the new enrollment period, August 15th, 2024, will be backdated up to 365 days during Phase 1. After this, during Phase 2, the end date of the new enrollment period will be backdated the same number of days as the begin date. Here we see, after Phase 1 takes place, the begin date of the new enrollment period after it was backdated up to 365 days. The date went from August 15th, 2024 to June 2nd, 2024. The original gap in enrollment of June 2nd, 2024 through August 14th of 2024 would be eliminated entirely. After this takes place in PEMS, the enrollment period will look like the screenshot pictured, showing the provider's new begin date as 6/2 of 2024. The date after their previous enrollment period, since the provider no longer has any inactive dates for their enrollment record after the gap closure. In this example, the begin date was reduced by 74 days. Let's remember those number of days when we review what the end date on the new enrollment segment will look like for Phase 2. While Phase 1 is focusing on the begin date for the new enrollment period, we see here after Phase 2 takes place, the new enrollment period end date will be backdated the same number of days that the begin date of the new enrollment segment was. Remember those 74 days we mentioned in the previous slides that the begin date was reduced by? In this example, the end date will be backdated the same number of days, 74. This will put the new end date for the new enrollment period at 6/1 of 2029, after subtracting that number of days from the original end date of 8/14 of 2029. This end date will also be the new revalidation date, in this example, 6/1 of 2029. Remember how we reviewed to check the revalidation date earlier using the Provider Information tab? Once the end date is updated, be sure to confirm that the revalidation end date reflects the same date in that area within that tab. That was an example of when the enrollment gap is entirely removed. Let's look at an example where the enrollment gap is partially closed. In this example, we have a provider who was due to revalidate on December 12, 2023. They did not meet this deadline and re-enrolled on December 25th of 2024. This provider will have a gap from December 13th, 2023 until December 24th of 2024 on their enrollment record. Again, staying within the Provider Information tab and scrolling down, it will display the enrollment periods. Here we see the gap in enrollment from December 13th, 2023 until December 24th of 2024. Because this provider was disenrolled for not revalidating timely between November 1st and December 12th, they are eligible for a gap closure after this provider has successfully re-enrolled. Their enrollment begin date will be backdated up to 365 days in Phase 1. During Phase 2, the end date of the new enrollment segment will be backdated the same number of days as the enrollment date begin date. Let's take a deeper look. The begin date of the new enrollment period indicated will be backdated up to 365 days during Phase 1. This would update the start date from December 25th of 2024 to December 25th of 2023, like you see on your screen. The provider would go from having a gap period of more than a year from 12/13 of 2023 to 12/24 of 2024 to only a couple of weeks at 12/13/2023 until 12/25 of 2023. Let's now review how the end date will be backdated during Phase 2. Here we see what the new enrollment period end date would look like after Phase 2 takes place in February. In the previous screenshot, the end date was showing as 12/24 of 2029. After Phase 2 takes place, the new enrollment period end date will be backdated the same number of days that the begin date of the new enrollment segment was. In this example, the begin date was backdated 365 days, so the end date will be backdated the same number of days, 365. It will update from 12/24 of 2029 to 12/24 of 2028. Now, let's go ahead and review the claims reprocessing efforts that will also be taking place when the enrollment gap is closed. Good news for providers, starting January 1st, 2025, claims will no longer be rejected for the reason provider is not enrolled, failed to revalidate. Now claims can be submitted and accepted into the system while providers are in the revalidation or re-enrollment process. Important reminder, claims submitted before the revalidation or re-enrollment is approved will still be denied. To ensure a smooth and timely reprocessing, make sure any held claims impacted by the enrollment gap are submitted to TMHP by February 28th of 2025. Beginning on January 17th, TMHP will begin reprocessing claims for providers whose enrollment gaps for dates between November 1st, 2023 and December 12th, 2024 are closed after their enrollment record is active again. Starting in February 2025, TMHP will begin reprocessing claims monthly for those denied from EOB with EOB 01215, provider is not enrolled, failed to revalidate, or for timely filing issues during the provider's gap on a monthly basis. Some key highlights. TMHP is waiving the timely filing deadline for claims within the retroactive grace period. 95-day claims and 120-day appeals filing deadlines will be extended for submitted claims. To ensure successful reprocessing, make sure your revalidation or re-enrollment is completed in PEMS. Claims will not be processed until your enrollment status is up to date and showing as active. When claims are reprocessed, additional payments may apply and will be reflected in your remittance and status or RNS report approximately 2 to 3 weeks after reprocessing begins. Please remember, for claims submitted to an MCO, reach out to the member-specific managed care organization for further details. Here we see an example of when claims will be reprocessed. Although this table shows dates going to April 1st, 2025, the claims reprocessing for this will continue to take place until December 25th on the 1st of each month. Initially, TMHP will identify claims that denied for EOB 01215, provider is not enrolled, failed to revalidate, that are currently in the system. TMHP is anticipating reprocessing these claims at the end of January. After this, on the 1st of each month, TMHP will systematically identify providers who had their enrollment gaps closed for the previous month. Claims for these providers with the dates of service between November 1st, 2023 and December 12th, 2024 will be identified for reprocessing if they were denied for EOB 01215, provider is not enrolled, failed to revalidate. Now, let's look at some of the important updates for long-term care or LTC billing providers. Providers must rebill claims that were previously rejected due to attending or referring providers not being enrolled. Rebilling should occur only after the attending and referring providers have successfully completed revalidation or re-enrollment and all necessary updates have been made. Key notes: claims exceeding the 365-day timely filing deadline will be denied. Providers may contact HHSC LTC Provider Claim Services at 512-438-2200 to request consideration for claims reprocessing. They can choose option 1 for nursing facilities, hospice, and intermediate care facility, and option 5 for home and community-based services and Texas Home Living. For additional assistance, you can always call the TMHP Contact Center at 800-925-9126. Now, let's take some time and do a high-level review of the revalidation process. Quick reminder regarding the time frame to submit your revalidation request. The revalidation window has been extended from 120 days to 180 days. This means providers can begin their revalidation applications 6 months prior to their revalidation dates. TMHP always encourages providers to get started as soon as possible. This way, you will have the entire amount of time needed to correct any potential deficiencies without the request going past the revalidation date. To get started with your revalidation request, open the NPI record that you wish to edit by clicking the ellipses and selecting View from the Provider Management tab in the PEMS dashboard. While here on the dashboard, I would also like to point out Request. This is where any requests you create will be located. This could be enrollment requests in draft, that are in review, or are pending a response for a deficiency correction. This area will also let you know the status of the request so that you are able to track it as it moves through the various processing stages. Going back to starting the revalidation request, once you have opened the NPI record, you will click on Edit Enrollment Record, located in the upper right corner of the next screen. If you're within 180 days of your revalidation date, you'll see the revalidation request option. Otherwise, select the re-enrollment request type. First, let's go over some tips for success. On the left is a picture of all of the tabs that would need to be completed within a PEMS request. We will review some of these tabs more in depth in just a bit. Please be sure to follow these tips when completing the enrollment request. In each tab, make sure to complete all fields with a red asterisk. If any fields are left incomplete, PEMS will not allow the request to submit. After completing each tab, be sure to click Save on the bottom. A blue check circle, like we see next to Services Provided and Attachments tab on your screen, will indicate if a tab is complete. If you are not seeing a blue check circle, but all fields are complete within this tab, please attempt to submit the request before reaching out for possible assistance. If you need to step away from the request, you can jump back into it by opening it up from the Request tab on the PEMS dashboard. We'll show you where this is located. A lot of times we see providers attempt to open the request from the Provider Management tab. NPIs in the Provider Management tab will only show how you are currently enrolled and not allow you to edit any of those fields like an enrollment request. For a hospice enrollment, you do not need to complete the services provided or application fee tab, and PEMS will allow you to submit the request without these tabs having a blue check circle. Lastly, and most importantly, remember you can always reach out to TMHP directly if you get stuck in order to schedule a walkthrough. We will go through the walkthrough process in a bit and provide you with some contact information for this. If you are requiring any assistance with any PEMS-related issues, please reach out to TMHP's Provider Relations Department to get support. When you request a PEMS walkthrough, you are scheduled for a full hour with a PEMS expert from our Provider Relations team. Since PEMS launched, our team has been proactive in scheduling these appointments to help providers navigate the system effectively. Here are the key benefits. We have a dedicated team of schedulers who manage walkthrough appointments to find the earliest available time slots, ensuring prompt assistance. Providers get a dedicated hour with a Provider Relations representative during the walkthrough. This time is usually enough to cover everything from starting an application to submitting it. Representatives can address multiple questions and provide tailored education on using PEMS effectively. Walkthroughs are conducted via Microsoft Teams, enabling screen sharing. This speeds up the process compared to phone calls because representatives can guide providers in real time through the application interface, clarify requirements, and optimize data entry. Each appointment is documented with a dedicated ticketing system. If providers can't finish their request within the hour, the representatives will schedule a follow-up or will continue support until the issue is resolved, even if the walkthrough is due to a technical issue. This ensures continual assistance throughout the enrollment process. Providers receive expert guidance tailored to their enrollment needs. Representatives use resources to ensure accurate submissions and build providers' confidence in using PEMS independently for future requests. Our aim in provider relations is to empower providers with the knowledge and tools they need for successful enrollment and ongoing efficiency. Let's also talk about technical issues. If you are in the process of completing an enrollment or maintenance request and receive any type of technical issue, please reach out to Provider Relations Department at provider.relations@tmhp.com as discussed. A ticket for tracking will be created for this request, and a meeting with representatives will be scheduled. Let the representative know what technical issues you have encountered. They will work with you to see if something in the request needs to be completed. A lot of times, with their PEMS knowledge, they can bypass the issue. However, if a technical issue is truly identified, the representative will create a ticket to the technology team. The representative will notate this information within their own ticket. The representative will also keep their ticket open until a technical issue is addressed. They will continue to provide you with status updates until the issue is resolved. Please keep in mind the provider relations representatives track everything within their internal tickets. If you are reaching out to a representative for status on a technical issue, be sure to include the ticket number in that email so that they can quickly pull up your information and respond to you with a status update. We're coming to the conclusion of our presentation. Let's look at some resources TMHP offers. Providers requiring direct assistance can reach out to our contact center at 1-800-925-9126. Providers can also email provider.relations@tmhp.com directly to request assistance with a variety of issues related to Texas Medicaid, whether it's claims, policy information, or enrollment that they have you covered. If you forget the contact center's phone number or the provider relations email address, you can also use the contact link on the top of TMHP's website to quickly obtain our contact information. For immediate assistance, please be sure to reach out to our contact center at 1-800-925-9126. Providers can also use the Email Us button within the page to initiate an enrollment walkthrough. Simply put, if you need to contact us, click the Contact button on the home page. Also, on the TMHP homepage, we have a Topics tab. These are links for areas that require common assistance. The Provider Enrollment section of this tab contains several guides and information regarding our enrollment system, PEMS. Upon accessing the Provider Enrollment section on our website, you will find various options on the left-hand side that offer guidance through the PEMS enrollment process. When you click on the link to the instructional site, a detailed step-by-step guide will appear, outlining the requirements for each provider type. You'll then select your enrollment type and provider type to view the corresponding steps and instructions on how to complete a PEMS request. Did you know that TMHP has a YouTube channel? You can access this through our website or by searching Texas Medicaid Healthcare Partnership in YouTube. We are consistently creating and updating videos on our channel. These videos are usually pretty short and cover a wide array of topics, including entire enrollment demonstrations. I highly encourage everyone to check it out here, and please subscribe. Speaking of our YouTube channel, I wanted to highlight the revalidation demonstrations we have on there. These videos are longer than our typical videos. This is because they are entire revalidation demonstrations from start to finish. If you are submitting a revalidation for the first time or helping somebody on your team to understand the revalidation process, these videos are a great resource. Please check them out when you get a chance.
We thank you for attending our PEMS training session. We hope that you have a good rest of the day, and thank you for attending.